To the extent that we live our lives in a manner that is consistent with the truth in our heart, we thrive.
Welcome to the Meyer Clinics podcast, and you just heard a quote from one of your hosts, Dr. Lisa Day. Join our licensed clinical professionals from various backgrounds as they discuss fascinating mental health topics with a wide range of guests. Meyer Clinics is a Christian counseling organization with multiple clinics nationwide dedicated to treating the whole person, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Welcome to our listening family. We thank you for joining us. Hi, everyone. We are back with Dr. Lisa Day. This is Kristin Walker. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Kristin.
We're going to talk about the neuroscience of gratitude. I love it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that so many times, Kristin, we talk about, or at least I talk about with you, psychopathology, boundaries, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, social media addiction, sex trafficking, and we talk about all of the real life things that certainly we deal with, I deal with, and you talk a lot about in our real world. And when I was thinking about the new year, and I was challenged by a very good friend of mine, Lisa, what is your 2020 vision? What is your 2020 vision? And that's just a whole spiritual walk, and what it's not, okay, I'm going to pay off the student loan or anything like that. It's what is my 2020 vision? And not that gratitude is necessarily my 2020 vision, but it's part of it. But it got me thinking that in the work that we do, in the work that I do, a lot of it is remedial repair, a lot of healing components. And certainly when people come into my practice, I take my hands and I put them side by side and I say, this journey of therapy is a combination of healing and growth. But I don't know that in the psychotherapy realm or in the talks that I've done with you, that I've emphasized enough of the proactive things that we can do and the magnificent power they have on us. And so, when I was thinking about that, what are things that we can do? We think about physical fitness, and we think about eating well-balanced meals and getting plenty of sleep and exercising on a regular basis as the things that we're responsible as adults to do.
Right.
And they provide the foundation for our physical well-being. And I just don't feel like I have emphasized enough on some of the things that we can do for our mental health well-being, for our emotional well-being, and on a regular basis. And so gratitude is one that came to mind. And gratitude in its simplest sense is just really the mindful focusing on and appreciating the good in our lives, that we're going to it. Yeah. And practicing it and not waiting for the one, nice gesture. Meaning I always share with you that I'm so grateful for you, for your guidance, for your mentorship and for your fun interactions on the podcast. But, gratitude in its simplest sense is, do I have a regular practice of being aware of everything in my life that I'm grateful for, and really having an appreciation for it? So sometimes we think, oh goodness, another day of work.
Right.
And this isn't thought stopping. You know me with my cognitive behavioral background. I never want people to stuff thoughts, or the reggae song, "Don't worry, be happy." But it's a mindful investment that I can sit here in my chair on a computer and a microphone and communicate with you, and we can give this information to the masses. But do I take a moment to be grateful for my office? Do I take a moment to be grateful for the view that I have in my office?
Right.
The integrity that I have, knowing you're going to show up, the joy that I have in sharing, that intellectual material and the inspiring things that we talk about. So I just wanted today to take a look at gratitude in various aspects of our life, and really to invite listeners to develop a practice, and not something they reach for when they're hurting, but something just as though we brush our teeth, that becomes a regular part of our day.
Yeah, because it's not fostered in our society to live that way. So you really have to make it a practice. You have to do that. And yes, for me, it's been really good to, okay, I'm stressed about whatever right now, money or, crumbling relationship or whatever may be going on. But to still reach for gratitude during those times when I want to say, I'm sick of all this airy fairy gratitude nonsense, because the
Yeah.
first thing you want to do is say that. But for me, I looked at it from the science perspective. Okay, if you can reach for something to be, even if it's that, hey, that one fingernail doesn't look mangled, if that's about as grateful as I could get in this moment of stress, I am building a neural pathway that's going to help me other times when I'm not stressed out, because I'm making it this practice. And that was helpful for me to go, okay, then stop being snarky about it and just do it anyway.
Well, and it's true. I mean, there's a wonderful quote that says it's not happiness that brings us gratitude. It's gratitude that brings us happiness. And again, it's not a thought stopping. I mean, I've done in the program that we did, on living with bipolar disorder, I talk about the many hospitalizations and challenges in navigating a family member with bipolar disorder. And truly, I can remember, and I could pick any number of them driving, to the hospital. Maybe it's 2 a.m. and thinking, this is horrible. This is awful. How do you deal with this? How do you approach this? Confessions of a Shrink. Why me? Why us? Why our journey? And I know that
Right.
then I will follow that with that at the end of the day, I'm grateful that I have this family member that I am able to go to the hospital with, that I am able to navigate this journey with, that I am able to live this thing we call life. And it's not to make the hardship go away, but it really does help balance or bring into the chaos or drama or challenge that we're experiencing a sense of appreciation. It is really powerful, really powerful.
It is. And there's something, it's a journey, but there's something, a place that you can get to where the humility and the gratitude steeping off of you, it goes past someone saying what a Pollyanna you are, or you just let people walk on you. Once you're confident in it and you've made this a regular practice and that's your go-to rather than negative, there's a place that people see you at that point, and you see yourself as, wow, look at how strong. Because I had a situation where I wasn't involving myself in something that I could have, and in a younger day, more egotistical time, I would have involved myself more. And they said, I marvel at your restraint here. I really marvel at your holding back and choosing to just continue on with what you do. And I thought, okay, I'm on that road where this is now a strength.
Well, and absolutely, and we'll talk more about this as we go on. But what you're pointing to is two of the huge things that having a practice of gratitude gives us, and one is confidence. It gives us that strength is confidence that this too shall pass. I will find a way through this
Yes.
particular challenge, difficulty, loss that I'm experiencing. And so, that confidence and that strength is something that, you're not going to get it by doing one, journal entry on gratitude. But when you
Right.
incorporate, just like exercising, you can run around the
You gotta
block once and that's not going to do
Right.
anything to your legs.
Why
Right?
am I not size 2 and have rock hard abs? What is going on?
I've been thinking about exercising, but I've not been exercising. Yeah. And so, but and then also the other thing that a practice of gratitude gives us, which is to me, one of the most priceless gifts we can give, not only ourselves, but to give those around us, is a true sense of presence. We're able to be here now. We're able to focus and with choice, be in the moment, not afraid of what has happened and not
Very
fearful
true.
of what's ahead of us. But that when we have a practice of gratitude, and that when that becomes a part of our natural operating system, it increases confidence, it increases strength, and it
Yes.
increases our ability to stay here, which is the only thing we ever have is here.
That's so true. That's so true. You stop worrying about the other shoe that might drop. That just doesn't become part of your repertoire of things anymore, because you know that you can handle anything. I remember when someone told me, you know what your middle name means? Because my middle name is Thai and it's Sunanta. And I said, no, I don't know what that means. And they looked it up. It was a Thai person. So this is for real, not just making it up, but it means graceful.
Wow.
And when I heard this was in my 20s, certainly in no way graceful whatsoever. But I remember thinking, oh, I hope I can move and grow into that. And it took me until my 50s. I've just turned 50, but I think I'm got my toe in the water of that land now. You know what? I don't even want to say that. I have myself in that land now, which is great. Doesn't mean I'm going to always do that, but more than not, I'm there, which is nice.
Yeah, and absolutely. And just like exercise or eating well, it's a practice. It's something that we stay in. It's not something that we do once and it's accomplished. And
Exactly.
it is definitely a practice. And with gratitude, we'll talk about the neuroscience of it, but if we think about it globally, gratitude research is showing us, and any of us who practice it begin to experience it. It has psychological benefits, it has physical benefits, and it has social benefits. At a pure psychological base, when we have positive emotions and we are taking the moment to consciously be thankful for and consciously appreciate, it causes our heart rate to go down. I'll elaborate on this a little bit, but it also affects our neurochemical systems. It affects our fight or flight system. Physically, research is showing us that when we have a practice of gratefulness, it affects our immune system. It affects our ability to navigate physical pain, aches and pains, chronic pain. It actually affects our blood pressure and our cardiac functioning and our sleep-wake cycles, because everything is calming down. Our fight or flight,
we're
is
not living
down.
inflamed. I mean, if you think about, we hear so much research out there about, our bodies are inflamed because of the food we eat, because of the toxins in the air, because of people that we're around, inflamed. Well, you can also be, inflamed also means negative. That's a negative thing. It's a negative thing to walk around and be inflamed. And what you're saying is, if we practice this and we make it a practice, you are not walking around inflamed, which is so healing to every cell in your body.
And further allows us then to embrace our powerlessness, right? So,
Yes.
we play God in our life, especially when we experience anxiety and worry. We feel the need to figure out tomorrow, to figure out next year.
Yeah.
And, we're taught in scripture that, and this is often misperceived, but that anxiety and worry is sinful, and it's paraphrasing. But really what that means is that we're moving into trying to play God in our life rather than resting in the peace of knowing that it will work itself out. We will navigate through this. And it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be pleasant. I mean, any of us who have lost a loved one to death, being grateful doesn't bring that person back, but it significantly influences our journey of integrating that loss.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. And when they talk about, they meaning, whoever out there talks about how people who are over 65 that can handle the grief that comes from having many of your friends pass away, family members that have gone, all the things that come with aging, and being able to do that and be in this uninflamed, grateful space is, the people live longer. They live a much more peaceful, they enjoy retirement, things like that. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Well, and we can practice that today.
Exactly. I want to be I say this, and so I want to put it out there here too. If I end up in some kind of senior living center, nursing home, whatever, I mean, that's fine if I do. I want to be the one that everybody that works there is like, oh, I get to see Kristin Walker today.
Well, and that's I hope so too. And that's the thing about when you know people who have a gratefulness practice or who adopt this as a way of a baseline operating system, you begin to see, you look at them and they have something that you want.
Yes.
Follow me?
And why you're so attractive. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not their car or their house. Yeah. It's their presence. It's how they gracefully, your word, navigate through this thing we call life. And it's not a sense of detachment, and it's not I'm powerless, therefore I don't care. It's that I'm powerless and I'm going to choose to look at where I can put my emotions, and I can put them into the things in this journey that I am grateful for.
Right.
Rather than focusing on the things that I'm powerless over, which inadvertently obviously is going to create the anxiety that results. And at a neurobiological level, gratitude regulates our anxiety at the sympathetic nervous system level. So, we've got the sympathetic nervous system and we've got the parasympathetic nervous system. And when we are threatened, our sympathetic nervous system gets all excited. And at a physiological level, the brain begins to ruminate and fear comes in. And then our neurochemicals and our hormones get way out of whack. And so if we can bring that in, and you've heard me say, I take my hands and we differentiate, where do I have influence? Where am I powerless? And if I'm powerless over the fact that a tree just fell on the cabin and busted the roof, okay, hopefully that doesn't happen, knock on wood. But I can look at the fact that I'm grateful that I have homeowners insurance. I'm grateful that no one was hurt.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that this is something that's manageable. It's repairable. And so we don't do it to not feel, but while we're powerless over the event, we have full control over how we approach the event. And it does affect our neurochemical functioning. In fact, besides, the enhancing self-love and empathy and gratitude or gratefulness for people, stress and anxiety and depression, we all know, or many of us know, or I guess I talk about it a lot. It's involved in our serotonin levels, our dopamine levels, and our oxytocin. And those are three neurochemicals that are involved quite regularly with anxiety and depression. And what research is showing us, and there's lots of studies out there, is that when people do intentionally develop a gratefulness practice, that it's positively affecting the dopamine levels. It's positively affecting the serotonin and the oxytocin. And as you mentioned when we first got started, as we develop that practice, we strengthen those neural pathways in our brain. So it's not, we're less likely to react. We're much more likely to respond because we're present based with that confidence.
And let me tell you, you sleep better at night.
You do. There are some studies, and I don't want to go too far into the neuroanatomy because it can be kind of distracting, but we look at the hypothalamic regulation, which is triggered by gratitude, and it helps us get deeper and heavier sleep. So in our hypothalamus, gratitude positively affects the neurochemicals there. So we do sleep better. So at a neurochemical level, it's affecting, but at the same time, if we're going to bed thinking, oh no, the tree hit the roof, oh no, the tree hit the roof, oh no, the tree hit the roof, then we're perseverating or we're looping on that, which is going to stimulate the fight or flight. Whereas if we are saying, I'm grateful that I have homeowners insurance, I'm grateful that no one was hurt, and I'm grateful that this is a manageable problem. So psychologically, it's going to have a positive impact. Neurochemically, it's going to have a positive impact. And so it helps with that stress regulation.
Absolutely. And it's a nice, even, I don't want to say burn because that sounds inflamed. It's a nice, even feeling. It's very different from the, cortisol dump or the adrenaline dump that you get from a stressful situation or from being around, scary behavior or, things like that. You get that fight or flight, just adrenaline dump in your system, and that is also very addicting. It's addicting in that boom, 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 quick hit way. This is a nice, easy, you just want to keep it going and keep it flowing. It's lovely. And, you think that the other is more powerful, but it's kind of like when you go and you get massage or any kind of self care thing, it's a cumulative effect. So if you get a massage once a month, by the 6th month, you've got an accumulation of positive effects that have built up over time. Same with exercise, whereas just one massage, that's great, but it just kind of seeps in, but it's very powerful. And you don't think, the reason why I bring it up is you don't think it's as powerful because maybe the force of it isn't as big of a hit as an adrenaline dump, but the reality is you're going to have those adrenaline dumps because life is stressful. But if you keep that even hit that we're talking about every day with this, when those adrenaline dumps come, they're not going to throw you as much because you've got this nice level playing field. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that combined with the awareness. So when you have the practice and you have self-awareness, you're aware that, I mean, if someone, we've got a ton of snow out here right now. And so if I were to be reamed T-bone leaving the office today, that's going to be upsetting for me, right?
Right.
I'm not going to go, oh, I'm grateful that the car door didn't smash. It's going to be upsetting for me.
Right.
But I will be able to say, okay, I'm safe. They're safe. This is repairable. This too shall pass.
Hi, this is Dr. Paul Meyer of the Meyer Clinics. Our Christian counselors across the country have a goal of helping all those who come to us to become what God has called them to be. If you're in a situation where you're not at peace within yourself, or you just feel like there's joy that's missing in your life, we can come alongside to help you obtain peace and joy.
This message is sponsored by the Meyer Clinic Foundation, a nonprofit Christian counseling ministry. The number is 1-888-7-CLINIC, 1-888-7-CLINIC.
And so we get jolts, but we're better able to re-regulate. Whereas when we live in chaos and drama, which is definitely fueled by fear, control, trying to control things that we have no control over, we're quick for that whole cycle to be triggered. And then we can be lost for days. We can be lost for days on it. And so, yes, it is compounded. And then also neurophysiologically, research shows us that, people who have a gratefulness practice, who are dealing with physical pain, chronic back pain, knee pain, hip pain, or what have you, those who practice a regular gratitude practice versus those who do not, they report 16% less pain symptoms. And that's not 60, but it's 16. But not only do they report less pain, but they also show to be far more compliant, to treatment recommendations. And so, it definitely helps with stress regulation. It definitely helps with pain regulation. It definitely helps with cardiac functioning. So as a preventative practice that we can do to set ourselves up for being able to navigate this thing we call life, it's priceless. I mean, many people refer to it as the natural antidepressant. Mm-hmm. And I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist, and so we talk about looking at how our thoughts influence our feelings and influence our behaviors. This is a beautiful example of how our thoughts influence our behaviors and therefore our feelings at both a psychological, emotional, and neurochemical basis. And so it's powerful. And I tell people, we'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but it's in all that we do. When I talk about truth, I say in all that we do, we want to be aware of our truth. And I say that gratefulness is something that we can do in all that we do. And I know that we all are moving far too fast, with microwaves, with faxes, cell phones, social media. I believe, our culture is moving way too fast. So that brings our baseline level of cortisol up already. We're far more likely to trigger that fight or flight. Yes. And I invite people in the simplest things to begin to develop the practice of not only thank you, but communicating, I appreciate you. Yeah. Meaning, you and we relate a whole lot, through email and through text. And same thing with, I call it my mothership, our corporate support. And someone might say, okay, yes, I just faxed you intake forms. It's so easy to go, okay, cool, I'm going to go see that client. It takes literally less than 20 seconds to say, thank you so much. Right. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And when you do that collectively over time, you build you build relationships with people you don't even know. Right. And it opens a part of your heart for love. And I don't do it, and I don't encourage people to do it to increase productivity, but it increases connection. And in a culture where we are so quick to lose connection, with all of our technology, even if we're doing it in a text, to be able to say thank you, I really appreciate that. Or on Sunday, one of our intake workers was working and she had sent some paperwork, and it was just, thank you so much. It's Sunday and you got this to me. I really do appreciate that. I hope you enjoy your afternoon. So it's in all that we do, to build this sense of gratefulness and to look around us. I mean, I think it's so easy to look at what stresses us. And I think our culture puts us in that situation. I've got student debt, or I've got this project that's incomplete, or I need to snowblow the driveway. I need to get the dogs to the vet. I think that we can all list a litany of things we have to do and how they're associated with a negative emotion. And if we then follow that with things that we're grateful for, I mean, many moons ago, I developed this practice. It's kind of corny, but I would be backing out of my driveway at 7 a.m. I'm a single mom with my 2 kids, knowing that I wouldn't be back until 7:30 p.m. But when I would back out, I would be seeing my house, and I would just say, dear Lord, thank you for my car, my cabin, my camper, my kids, my health, my job, my well-being, my friends, my family, my life. And it became this kind of silly mantra where backing out, the garage doors going down. And I would say that, but it just shifts perspective,
Hey,
just
I have an
immediately.
alarm that goes off every day with my friend Adam Klugman, who's been on my show many times. Every day at 11:11, his phone won't do it 11:11, so he does it at 11:10. I say, "Oh, good, you have a whole minute that you have to practice gratitude before it hits 11:11." But every day, come rain
Oh,
or shine, it goes off, and we practice. We say, because we're great givers, but we haven't always been great receivers. So we practice gratitude and we say, "I receive gratefully."
oh,
And that has made such a huge difference in both of our lives to do that.
and that is huge. I mean, that is one of the things that I would have talked about here on the list of things that we can do, because, and sometimes we think things like this are corny and woo-woo until we start doing them.
Right.
I tell people, when I talk about nurturing needs, admiration, appreciation, and respect are on all of our nurturing needs. And, taking time where you can consciously have a gratefulness buddy, that's huge, Kristen. I respect that. That's huge. And so what are some other things that we can do? And this one's, people have a hard time with this one, but I think you kind of touched upon that in that example with your 11:11, 1:11, 10:11.
11:11, yeah.
11:11, yeah, is appreciate yourself. And so many
Yes.
times we think, oh, that's vain or that's narcissistic. And I think
Right.
it's so important that we allow ourselves to compliment ourselves with words like, you're incredible. That was incredible.
Right.
So if you give a presentation, you have a podcast, you help a woman at the grocery store who can't bend over because of her hip replacement, you pick up the cauliflower that fell on the floor. That feels good. I like doing that. That's
I don't do
incredible.
that enough. I do not. Thank you. I'm glad we're doing this show because I don't do that enough. I don't stop and look at, okay, I'm better, but yeah,
Well,
I need to do that
and
more.
I think that we all are. I think that we are all, well, not all, but many of us are very quick to look at, we dissect ourselves on a regular basis of what we did wrong. And it's not common that we'd say, you know what, you're incredible. You're a loyal friend. You're disciplined, you're kind, you're loving. You notice what makes other people happy. You notice what makes you happy. And I like that about me. We don't do that. We think it's vain or goofy or selfish or what have you. But that's where I encourage us to start in gratefulness, is to look at, what do I appreciate about me today? What do I appreciate about me today? And we don't. So that's the first place I encourage us to start.
Mm.
And then, of course, we're all instructed and we all go, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But not many of us do it. Is a gratitude journal. In a gratitude journal, we want to look at,
Maybe
compliments
when
that
I'm 80, I will do the journal. I fight it so bad. I don't know
Well,
why I do that.
and that's fair, because I say that, some people are writers and journalers and other
Right.
people aren't. In my practice, I say, if you are a journaler or if you are a writer, but if not, to contemplate, right? So I'll tell people to, take a 3.5 by 5 card and just put it beside your bed and ask yourself, what kind of compliments would I like to give myself today? What people am I grateful for today? What are the current challenges and what am I learning from today? And what are the assets that I'm experiencing today? And sometimes when things are tough, Kristen, I think I've shared this with you before, we look down and we notice that there's not only one, but there are 2 feet down there. And we say, I'm grateful that I have 2 feet that
Mm.
are going to move me out of this building. But even as silly as that sounds, the power of taking note of the simple things that we are grateful for is huge. And so whether you do it in a gratefulness journal or you do it in a gratefulness exercise, that I just walked through that. It took less than 45 seconds. It's that we stop to take note.
Right.
The other thing that is powerful and much more difficult in our high time consumed day is to make gratitude visits. So we look at people who we're grateful for and we just drop in, or we reach out, or we drop a text or an email and we just say thank you. I know that I was just in Florida over the holidays and spent some time with my middle school friends, and it's just dropping a picture and just saying, I love you. Thank you so much for making the time to share. It was so good to see you. I appreciate you in my life. And again, 45 seconds. And then we're not doing it
Yeah.
to look right. We're not doing it from an ego position. We're doing
No.
it as a practice. As a
Right.
practice. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I love your gratitude buddy. I mean, that's a big one. Of how to have a gratitude buddy that we can do these
Hey,
things with.
I know this about myself, and this is a thing that um I laugh about because it's just the way it is. I mean, I've been exercising now for a month every day
Nice.
at 5 a.m. And let me tell you the reason, because my neighbor walks to my house and knocks on the door at 5 a.m. So I have to get up. So I needed a gratitude buddy. I got to have a workout buddy. Like, I just need to do that. I can work like a fiend by myself. I can build a whole podcast network and do all this stuff when it comes to work. But stuff for myself, like working out or eating right or remembering to be grateful, I got to have a buddy. And so you set up scenarios in your life to where you're going to have the best outcome possible. And there's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean I'm weak. I actually had somebody say to me, yeah, well, you're someone that needs to be led. And I was like, that's one of those passive aggressive remarks that I don't like.
That's one of those passive aggressive indications you might be dealing with someone evil.
Right, exactly. I'm like, okay, thanks, not. But anyway, I need a buddy for those things, and I'm fine with that.
Well, I not only would I be fine with it, I would encourage you to celebrate it because it's nurturing. I mean, it's one of the things that we tend to disregard, especially us in the helping profession. We tend to disregard
why we
our
like
needs.
Lisa. See?
Yeah, it's so very
Imagine
nurturing.
sitting on a couch where I tell people all the time. I said this on the show with the Dr. Paul Meyer about rest. I said, there's never a place I feel more comfortable than on the couch or the chair or whatever in a therapist's office. And I imagine that if I was your patient, I would not be able to wait to get to the chair.
Well, hopefully one of the things that I say, and hopefully, is that I hope I tell people I won't teach you anything I don't personally practice on a regular basis. And I think that the strongest point in that is practice, because, all of the things that we talk about, with regard to healthy functioning and growth, they are practices. It's not, and with gratefulness, it really, I say that, a couple of other things, and this is related to gratitude, but so many of us live our world. And I believe personally, and Kristin, you and I have talked about this too, that with the development of technology, and certainly with the development of social media, and certainly with communicating via technology, we have fallen into a place where it's not uncommon for our operating system to be dictated by competition and comparison. That we look at things, self and others, as either good or bad, right or wrong, in or out, up or down, correct or incorrect. And, being able to find that connection and being able to find that nurturing on a regular basis through genuine connection is difficult. And so, if we can connect, if we can use gratefulness exercises, what happens is it grows that part of our heart. So that was a roundabout way to say that, some of the things that I teach in order to do that is I say, if our heart is occupied, if you will, focused on judgment and criticism, if our heart is occupied by determining if we're good or bad, right or wrong, in or out, it interferes with the space in our heart to be filled with love. And so I say, I challenge all people who enter my office, and I practice this myself, to abandon all judgment and criticism of self and others. And this, which was given to me by the Lord, is I look for something to love, and I try to leave something lovable in every path that I cross. And so that's my personal exercise of gratitude. And that doesn't, that means if it's someone at the grocery store where I'm checking out, or if it's someone who's helping me with my house, I sure do appreciate you helping me move these 5 feet of snow. It's not something that I'm able to do on my own. Thank you for taking the time. I know that you have a busy day. But when we are judgmental and critical of self and others, it really, you can't think a positive and negative thought at the same time.
Right.
It's difficult to be judgmental and critical and grateful, and appreciative at the same time. And so when we practice this, it opens our heart, and it gives us a greater ability to connect and attach to others.
Right.
So, we think about, I'm so grateful for, but how many times are we actually reaching out and expressing that? And it really, the power of adopting that on a regular basis, and not only within ourselves, but in our interactions with others. And it really is those words. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you taking care of this. And And we've fallen out of that because we're moving so fast.
Right.
And so in all that you do, in every path that we cross, not only, time with self, if we can practice, build that muscle, even if we just dedicate the same amount of time we do to brushing our teeth, and we can do it while we're brushing our teeth,
Right.
of developing that muscle and developing those neural pathways in the brain, it does affect all that you do at a foundational level.
That's why we set up to have an alarm go off every day, because we can go through a whole day and we literally can forget. So anything that's going to make you remember to do it, even just once a day, is going to help you on this journey. You will find that you'll start doing it more because you're at least doing it for sure once a day.
Well, it as a coping mechanism, it has its uses as well. So when you're faced with hardship, shock, stressor, if it can be one of the first three things that we do, it's not ever going to be the first one. Meaning, over the holidays, sorry, Haley, I'm going to use this example. It's my older daughter. But over the holidays, even though we were on top of itineraries for travel, my daughter did not make her 7 a.m. departure to come home for the holidays. And any of us who fly, we know what last minute, same day flights cost, right? And so I said, sweetheart, are you boarding? And I can hear the good morning. And clearly she wasn't boarding at the airport. And so obviously I'm going to think, are you kidding me? I called last night, you told me you were packed. And I'm thinking all of these I'm thinking these judgmental and critical thoughts, and these shaming and these guilting and these reactive thoughts, such as, well, you're going to have to take a bus, or, all these unproductive things. And I model that because we all have these thoughts. But you take a big deep breath and you say, the problem is she's not on that flight. And the problem is she needs to get home. And so what do we do? And so you go through that. And then after you breathe a little bit and you move through your problem solving, it's that I'm grateful that this is my problem. I'm grateful that my daughter missed her plane. I'm grateful that my daughter is not in the hospital because she was in an automobile accident. I'm grateful that we are in the modern world and that these problems are manageable. It doesn't mean that expense was okay. And it doesn't mean that we disregard the consequences.
And we don't have to talk about it later.
Yeah, it means that we put it into perspective, that at the end of the day, the problem at hand is getting with my loved one. Follow me? And that is, we can deal with it.
Right.
And so it helps keep us from going down the catastrophizing role, or the shaming or the guilting or the manipulating. It helps keep us in perspective. And more importantly, it helps keep us operating from the position of the higher self. And the higher self is who we truly are, a loving, supportive, compassionate mom who understands that we're all humans and we all make mistakes, versus moving into our egotistical or our self-image, such as, what kind of ungrateful daughter would do something like that? This is unacceptable. And those kinds of interactions are not helpful, loving, or compassionate in any way, shape, or form. So the coping mechanism of gratitude is also very powerful. So lots to be done. Just as we exercise regularly and we eat healthy food and hopefully we get good rest, I just, if you don't have a gratitude practice, if it's not a part of your day today, I invite you to set your alarm at 11:11. I invite you to put a 3.5 by 5 card, or I invite you when you're brushing your teeth, even if it's that you look at the toothbrush and that, I'm grateful that in modern America, we have dental care and we're not losing our teeth, and that they're not rotting out.
They're rotting out.
Add
that piece at the end. Yes, exactly. Ooh, I like it. And know that every time you do that, you are helping change the course of your own brain chemistry.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lisa Day, for wanting to talk about that topic. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. We will catch you next time.
Thank you, Kristin.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Tune in next time for another engaging discussion on relevant mental health topics. If you have any questions about Meyer Clinics, please visit our website at meyerclinics.com. That's MEIER clinics.com, or call us at 888-7-CLINIC. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps. And please note that we are a member of and produced by Mental Health News Radio Network, MHNRnetwork.com.